Hello, U.S. History CCAP class. I want to just let all of you know that just for what I think a little over 7 posts that I'm seeing, looks like everyone's doing it right. Um, just to get full points, don't forget you have to respond to 2 others. Some of you haven't responded to someone yet or only responded to one other student. But that's okay because it's not due yet. Just sometimes when you get ahead, if you do your post, it's possible that you can forget to get those other posts in. And so keep in mind, I have 15 points there, right? So I'm going to be looking at, okay, did you address the prompt, what I asked for in the discussion? 5 points. You respond to another student, 5 points. You responded to the other student, 5 points, full 15 points. That's how that works. Okay. So and keep in mind too, don't be afraid about posting something that is wrong information or that you misunderstood something. As long as you are putting an effort into the content itself, and so you're not looking at some other source of information. But okay, so you see some, you do a reading or ask a question, and maybe even other students say, hey, I think you misunderstood this. Hopefully you're all polite to each other, right? And um if you say, oh, now I get it, okay, or even if you still don't get it, if you are doing the work and you're putting the effort in, I will get involved, because I do read all the posts. I will be commenting on some of the posts. I will let you know if there's something that needs to be, fixed, or something that was misunderstood, and your grade is going to be fine. So, okay, I just want you to relax about this. Don't worry about getting it wrong. Just make sure you're actually addressing what I'm asking you to get involved with, whether it's a reading or a question about some videos, whatever. Okay, so just make that clear. Um, so I wanted to just kind of explain a few things that I think you probably, with the CCAP classes, you are, at schools with teachers around. But I just want to, just add the clarification of some things that I think they've probably already been telling you all. So, and so this is in terms of citations and the essays. But actually, I'm going to back up and I'm going to talk about the video notes first, and then I'm going to finish more on the essays. So the video notes. Keep in mind that in a normal face-to-face class, I would be spending most of my lecture just me giving the lecture, and then I would do this when I was teaching at MJC in person. I will occasionally show a video that we all watch and have a discussion after. Now, in this case, I try to make shorter clips of lectures, and then add videos, and a little bit more than I would in a face-to-face class. But everybody has different learning styles, and I think it kind of helps mix things up a little bit. But sometimes students say, Mr. Pollock, I have to write notes on all of these videos. Well, if you look at all of the time that for all the videos together, it's not that much different in the time it would be if you were in the classroom. But okay, importantly, I know, and no one's going to watch the video unless you have to do something to prove it. And not necessarily because you're not interested or you're not a good student. We're all busy. We have different things to do. If you're not held accountable to it, you're not gonna do anything with it. So it's not a suggestion, it's a requirement, and you prove that you've watched the videos by writing the notes. Now, I would like you to try your best to make sure that the points that are made in the videos, that when you write your video notes, that your sentences stand out on their own, and it shows that you really do know something from the video. Okay, if you simply say Thomas Jefferson was a man, that's not telling me you watched the video. And if you say even Thomas Jefferson had slaves or he believed and idealized farming life. These are all things that anybody who studies this history will know quickly. I want to see something in the video notes that simply demonstrate like you had to have watched the video to know that. And that's how it should reflect. That's what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be very long, it doesn't have to be complex. And I think that's straightforward enough from there. Okay, that's what I want to see. And what I would advise you to do is I'm going to now talk about the Sunday essay uh, assignments. You do not have to write much. Usually, it's 1 page will do. If I say 1 to 2 pages, that means you can give me 1 page. But if you want maximum points for 1 page, you need to give me the maximum of what I'm asking for within that 1 page. Okay. Now, what I advise you to do before you watch the videos and the notes, and this is not, you're not required to do this. This is my advice. Okay, take it or leave it. Look at the Sunday essay question. And then when you're doing the video notes, try to get the information from the video notes that you would put into the essay. Now, I'm not going to consider it redundant or plagiarism or anything like that if I see that your notes that you took on the videos end up being incorporated into the Sunday essay. In fact, I'm encouraging that. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's just something that I wanted to mention. So let me now let's go to the Sunday essay. In college, in a history class, essays are a reality. And the higher you go up, the more you have to write. And we're talking, you have to read a lot and you have to write a lot, more than anything else. And I'll be honest, this is the part that I struggled with the most. I did not do well in elementary, middle school, or high school. I'm a late bloomer. Um, and a lot of my professors, I was going to Modesto Junior College myself, and they'd be like, you seem like you're a pretty smart student. You're engaged with the material. All right, here's the assignment. And then I'd give them the essay, and they're like, this is terrible. They were like shocked, like how bad my essays were. And I swear, I feel like I really didn't understand what I was being asked to do or understand the whole idea until literally finishing up grad school. It's ridiculous. Okay. And so I thought right now I would take the fact that I was so slow on this and had such a challenge. I just wanted to explain a few things about this to just help you all understand what's expected on essays. Stick to whatever you're asked and keep it as simple as possible for yourself. I always thought professors wanted some really profound, deep thing, like to be impressed with the paper. And I don't mind that. Look, if you can naturally write something or whatever that's really profound mixed with what you're doing, I don't want to stop you if you feel confident and comfortable in your natural way of like how you're writing. But essentially, um, a lot of there's a reason why a lot of lawyers were history majors first, and a lot of paralegals worked as history majors because really the skill set that you're learning along the way as a history major, if you were to be one, is to write clear and concise papers and to be really clear and concise in responding to whatever you're asked to talk about. So sometimes, let me just give you an example. Imagine if you watched a movie and your auntie comes up or your uncle or your best friend and they're like, hey, I only got 10 minutes with you, but can you give me a synopsis of the film? Can you just tell me? And I don't care. You can spoil the end. I just want to know about this like film. Like, how did it start off? Did it pull through the whole entire way? And like, how do you feel about the ending? You know, you just do it, right? You just explain it. Okay, this is kind of what a lot of times you're doing in this class is the professor is saying, hey, can you explain this, or what about this? And you just do that. In a sense, it's that simple, although it's not always that easy, but it can be that simple. Now, there's different types of questions that are asked. There's different levels that of engagement with the topic that you're being asked. So it's going to vary, but I just want you to get the spirit or the idea of what you need to be doing with the essays. Okay, now the citation process. This is very important, so critical. Please listen to this very carefully. Okay, this is the most complicated part, annoying part of writing a college essay, and also it's the most critical, something that you need to figure out now, and is just students have resistance to forever. Okay, so um, there's different methods of citation. In fact, quite a bit. And one thing that gets a little misleading, and I'm not really blaming anybody, it's not a conspiracy, but you go to a junior college. Well, I went to MJC. We all learned MLA in English 101, this citation method. And I transferred to UC Santa Cruz, and they only use Chicago style. And the professors were militant. I mean, they get their red pens and just rip through your essay. Like, if you did, we're talking about not even the essay, just the way I cited and how it needed to be so precise with Chicago style. And I'm like, what is Chicago style? I didn't even know that there was this thing called Chicago style. And and then if you're doing a psych, if you're a psych major, they have a different citation style. So what I want to do for us here is you're not like, you don't have to use a particular style. If you're if you want to practice using Chicago style, you're being very ambitious, all the power to you. And if you want to be a history major in particular, or you want to go into social studies, humanities, I don't think it's a bad thing to practice that, but it's a lot more work. Don't overburden yourself depending on what your schedule is. But again, I do have students that sometimes use Chicago style, and that's okay. Um, you can use MLA, but here, but well, maybe let me just make this very clear though. Okay, you can utilize these different ones. But what do I want on here? I want you to get into the practice of what the concept of a citation is. So I want you to think about this. Imagine you have someone that comes up to you and they're like, man, you got to be careful about this one person. They act like you're a friend, but they steal if they go to get togethers from people's houses. And at this point, it's gossip, right? What do? You ask for the source. How do you know that this person does that kind of stuff? They say, "Oh, I saw it," or "My brother saw it," or "My brother's best friend." Okay. Sometimes if you start really trying to figure out where this information came from, you're like, this is a lot of hearsay. I don't know about this, if this is really quality information. Now, this person that's telling you this, are they known to be someone who talks mess and starts trouble? Or are they known as a person that never does that kind of thing and are pretty solid, and you've known them since first grade, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So where you're getting information, what's the source of this information and how reliable is it? Do you guys get what I'm saying? Okay. So a citation is doing that. That is the place that you're looking to, and where that information that you're explaining gets validated. Okay. Now, when you're writing an essay, the majority of it should be paraphrased. And if you don't know this word, you could look it up, but I'll explain it right here. It's just putting it into your own words. Now, think about it this way again. What else do you need to do? Okay. So you have like let's say I talk, okay, this information we're talking about here. Oh, actually, okay, let me talk about Native American involvement in the U.S. Civil War, and you're going to learn about that when you're going to watch a documentary on it. Even once we get up into the U.S. Civil War, most of you will have not had any information on that. Like much of what we were talking about, you're walking in, you don't have information. Then you get exposed through the reading and the videos, the lectures I give, the documentary clips, the readings, and the module. These are all the sources of information that you're using. And so when you're writing, I'm giving something for you to write on. And that information is going to come from those sources that we were exposed to in the module for the week. So think, where am I getting this information from? You're gonna answer this, and you're gonna explain. And by the time you finish your thought on that, in that moment in the paragraph, it's like, okay, so where did you get that information from? You put in parentheses, and you give me the source of where you got that from. It's as simple as that. And so it might say video 2, Pollock lecture, or crash course documentary on da da da, or textbook, page 23, or Howard Zen, page whatever. Give me as much information in a short space as possible that makes it easy for me to immediately be able to go and check that what you just said lines up exactly with the source that you're saying. Okay? Because I'm the guy. Remember, we just talked about that conversation you had with a friend, and somebody's saying, oh, somebody come watch out for so and so because they steal. I'm the person coming in going, did you just say this? I want to see proof. Don't just be saying, don't be starting this stuff. I want, no, 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 no. Okay, give me the proof. I'm coming in. What's the source? Okay, right? So this is the whole concept of citations. And this is why you use AI to try to write your essays is not going to work. And yes, I'm trying to prevent that from even being attempted by students. Okay. Now, where AI can help you is maybe if you want to just ask it to prompt on maybe organizing your thoughts. Okay. Having it give you a prompt to help you organize your thoughts or to think about what, if you want to use it as a tool like that, that's different because you're going to see that and that's going to help you maybe write something, but it's still going to be more or less your essay. Okay. So ultimately, what I should see is just an essay that addresses what my prompt is, and that there's the module that you're using citations within the essay of where you got your information from. And I do not need a works cited at the end. Okay. But all the citations have to be within the essay. This is important. Right after you finish your thought. Or if you have a direct quote, you can then say, it was said, da 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 da, or you have quotes, then the citation right after that, after the paraphrase and after a direct quote. Period. No, there's no flexibility on this. This is going to be something I'm gonna look at. That's you can't get around, and you have to have some dates. It has to be grounded in a time period in some way. Okay, and you're only using the sources that we've used in this class. So when I grade your essays, this is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to look for the citations. I'm just going to look. Do I see parentheses in the text? And for a moment, I'll just kind of look if they look recognizable to me at the very least, just to start off. I'll look for dates. Do we have something in there that grounds me in the time period of what your essay is? Okay, then I'll read it. And as I go through, everything looks like it's adding up. Boom, 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 full points. Okay, so I hope that's simple and clear enough. I hope that this is helpful. I know this is a little bit of a long announcement, but I do hope that it is helpful for all of you, like moving forward and figuring this out. Okay, and so You see that I have an example of what it should look like. Remember, it doesn't have to be precisely the same as everybody else is doing, but the idea of what I'm looking for, that should be within the essays. Okay, and so um, lastly, really quick, I'm not going to stick as long. You'll notice for the discussion this week, I had you read the Doctrine of Discovery. I just wanted you to immediately get into this idea of reading this. This was a primary source. This is like a document from this time period that helps us see already kind of how we get to the United States. One of the pieces to the puzzle, which is when the age of exploration and the Catholic Church and these kingdoms were wedded together, and this idea about exploration and land and what would be the role of religion with that. Now, in this case, you weren't given a lot of context to the primary source and, you know, background as to where it stands. What does the Catholic Church think about the doctrine of discovery now? How how literal was this applied by Western nation states? What did the United States think about, or did they? And who thought about this text? You see what I'm saying? I didn't give you a chance to know that stuff, but I want you to think. I want you, as you go through it, just work with the text it is. But this is what historians will do with a text like that. And also keep in mind this. Um, we're talking about the Catholic Church. Some people look at this as a negative thing, some as a positive thing. I'm not using it to um, make the Catholic Church look like it was being mean, so to speak. Okay. And in fact, I will tell you, there has been the church has addressed this and been aware that this doesn't hit right very well under the way we think about things nowadays. And so this leads me to another thing. As we look at historical documents and we see white people represented, Mexicans represented, indigenous, Christians, Muslims, Jews, atheists, whatever, all the different isms and all the backgrounds, you know, you can't freeze frame that and always say this is what this is. I mean, you know, most of us, when we embrace who our own backgrounds are, our own histories and identities, our ethnicities, we're very fair to ourselves often when it comes to saying, well, that's not how I view it, or I'm proud of this, but I'm not proud of that. But then sometimes we don't allow others to have that same kind of flexibility, and we like to jump on top of the things that look the worst to us, right? So there's just so many different ways that we can look at like a document like that on so many levels. And I also am just kind of wanting you all to just see how that could be. Just think about that. But for now, I'm happy just, as you do the discussions, you're just addressing what's in the text and your thought about it. But I just wanted to kind of point out what I was wanting you to really also think about as you know, mull this over. Um, that's all I'm going to say for now. This was also, this announcement is long enough as it is. I hope that it's helpful. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions.